Score North and ScoreNorth.com. Purple Daily, presented by Surly Brewing Company.
I told them it was a very poor performance. We're going to scrimmage next week with this same bunch because we didn't tackle well, that we made the wrong checks on defense with the safeties. We throw an interception for a touchdown. We go 3 and out the first 2 series. Terrible punts. So other than that, it's been great.
Other than that, Mrs. Lincoln, how was the play?
How was the play, Mike Zimmer?
Great.
It's so funny. I love when he does that, especially with poor Greg Coleman, who's like, yeah, but the team played pretty well, right? No, we were horse bleep.
Amazing. Vikings Entertainment Network just like, oh my God, how do we handle this? Apparently, someone I didn't hear this portion of it, but apparently Ben Lieber, when he was doing one of his interviews, like congratulated one of the players on just a tremendous team year last year or something.
Yeah, I saw that.
Come on, dude.
I saw that tweet.
Let's pump the brakes a little bit on that homerism. This is Purple Daily, daily Vikings entertainment presented by Surly Brewing from the TCL studios. Enjoy more of what you love with TCL. Phil Mackey, Judd Zulgad, and Declan Goff, our executive producer. And boys, let's get right into it. This is an old weekly staple from the Mackey and Judd show that we are bringing starting this week and going forward to the end of the year. The weekly pie chart of blame/praise. And because the Vikings lost...
Now on Mackey and Judd.
This chart makes it as clear as I can to you.
The pie chart of blame.
You want to blame somebody?
This is where we slice and dice and dole out percentages of blame for Vikings losses or wins for the praise side. If they win, we do a praise. If they lose, we do a blame. And so for these preseason games, let's tweak this a little bit. Instead of just like doling out pieces of pie for backup players and third stringers and stuff, let's have this be the pie chart of blame for the sort of big picture, uneasy way that everyone feels after the first preseason game. Zimmer feels a little uneasy. I think even though it was all backups, I think a lot of fans are like, ooh, what was that, Jake Browning? So we'll go pie chart of blame for the sort of big picture, uneasy way that everyone feels after that first preseason game. Judd, if you could do the honors.
I will cut the first piece of pie, and I'm going to keep this pie chart small. So because once we get to the season, that's where I like to divvy it up into like 8 pieces.
Yeah, you really do.
I really do enjoy that, but I'm not. But you know what? This game does not deserve that. This game deserves a very simple. Let's see. It's going to only be 3 slices of pie. I'll start at the bottom and work my way up. Players get 10%. There were enough players, Colquitt, Dantzler, key backups who had terrible games. So I'm not going to completely allow them off the hook, but because 30-plus players, regulars, did not play, I'm also not going to go crazy about it. Colquitt, terrible game punting. Dantzler, bad game. Quarterbacks disappointed me with Browning, Mond, not so much. So I'm going to start, Cody Dozier. So I'm going to start with players. They get a 10% cut. 30% is going to go to Mike Zimmer and the coaching staff because, you know what? If backups played as poorly as they played, you've had training camp. Like, you've had time to work with players, mini camps, OTAs. So I can't completely allow the coaching staff off the hook, despite the fact that the majority of guys who played, they would probably prefer not to play. And lots of these guys are ultimately going to be cut before the season starts. But I'm going to give a 30% piece of pie to really, I think, in fairness, a lack of preparation from Zim and the coaching staff to get these guys prepared to play.
On that note, sometimes, Mike Zimmer will own stuff sometimes. Like, he was pretty, I think, reflective and introspective around the start of the league year, just saying, we went back to the drawing board and just had a bunch of defensive meetings and whatnot. How can we revamp this thing? But like sometimes he also gets in the it's everyone else's fault, everyone's an idiot, and I don't know what's happening mode. And that's what this feels like. He's like, we were missing checks and reads. There's a bunch of idiots out here. It's like, well, you're the coach. You're the coach, dude.
Exactly.
Coach them up. Communicate.
Final piece of pie goes to the architect of this roster and the guy who ultimately has a huge role in bringing guys in who are then supposed to be coached up. GM Rick Spielman. The depth on this team is concerning. The lack of depth moves that at least in that game were working is concerning. And I would say that the most important thing is that you give your coach and coaching staff a roster of players who, at least more than we saw on Saturday afternoon, look like they're prepared to play. I'm not saying they're Pro Bowl players. I'm not saying they're great, but they're competent. And what we saw from too many guys on Saturday was incompetent play. So 60% to Spielman, 30% to Zim and his coaching staff, and 10% to the players who I did expect more from.
Yeah. All right. And I like the preseason pie chart for you. You're not going to go 7 or 8 slices. You're just going to pull. You're going to pull your knife after 3 slices.
Yeah.
Right. Make sure that knife is rested
slices. Big slices.
Who was it? Was it Yogi Berra that was asked one time, Mr. Berra, do you want your pizza cut into 8 slices or 6? And he said, better make it 6. I'm not sure if I can eat 8.
8, yes.
The Rock
Yogi.
knows how you feel about
that
pie.
was Yogi Berra.
All right, here's my pie chart of blame. Again, this is for the uneasy way that people feel after that just debacle on Saturday. Mike Zimmer sort of being the front man for anxiety after the first few weeks of training camp here. So 60%, this is where my pie chart's a little bit different than yours because I'm giving 60% of the blame to just 31 players being out. I think it's easy to look at that game and say, oh my God, what a disaster, right? Like all these terrible things are happening, but most of the guys that you saw getting their asses kicked against the Broncos aren't going to actually play in a regular season game to start the season for the Vikings. So the Vikings have good starters on paper, elite starters in some cases, Justin Jefferson, Danielle Hunter, right? They've got some really good players across the board as starters. And if the Viking starters would have lined up against the Broncos starters, the Vikings win that game by 10 or more points because the Broncos just aren't that good of a team. I don't think they're a train wreck team, but they're just,
Yeah, I like them.
They're not a playoff team, though, unless you disagree. Maybe you think the Broncos are not in that division.
I think they have some nice players. I've got, sorry, Dex, some concerns about their quarterback play.
Okay.
Well, they're basically just leaving it open for Aaron Rodgers in 2022.
Or Kirk Cousins.
And so I just want to, the 31 best Vikings players sat out that game, and it's not an accurate reflection of what that game would have looked like by any means. So 60% to the best players not being on the field. But let's get to the other 40%. I got 3 more pieces of pie here. 20% for Rick Spielman's weird obsession with Dakota Dozier. Again, I'm not blaming him entirely for everything that happened in that game, but I'm saying like the angst that we feel is in part due to Dakota Dozier is out there one ankle tweak away. If you're Oli Udoh and you tweak an ankle in practice, as of right now, your direct backup is a guy that had one of the worst PFF grades of the weekend, any position, playing against backups. Dakota Dozier is a veteran offensive lineman who's been in the league for a number of years, and he was a disaster against Denver's backups in that game. Why was he allowed to come back in the first place? He was a free agent. You were free. Just go somewhere else. Literally, there's so many teams.
Fly away, Dakota.
Just go play somewhere else. It's great. Thank you for
go be a Packer.
Being a nice guy, I'm sure, but like literally go play anywhere else. And the Vikings were like, well, I mean, that's what he knows the system. He knows the system, and it's just we need guys who know the system. Never tell you something. Anyone under the age of 40 will not get that, but you're welcome for those of you that know Fire Marshal Bill. So, like, what was, like, we've talked about this, we've foreshadowed this for weeks and weeks and weeks and months. Like, don't even give yourself the option to put him near the starting rotation of offensive linemen. And now I do think Wyatt Davis, although he was terrible the first few plays and got forklifted into Jake Browning, like, the body of work, it's possible Wyatt Davis has jumped over Dakota Dozier now going forward, hopefully. But like I'm talking about the angst we feel about this team right now and the offensive line. A lot of it is because Dakota Dozier is allowed to be this close to a starting role still. It doesn't make any sense.
But you shouldn't have to say it's possible. Like, that's a ridiculous thing to have to say. It's possible. It should be a given. This is one of the great mysteries. When I die, if I go upstairs, it's one of my first questions to God. What about that Dakota Dozier obsession down there on Earth with the Vikings? Maybe God can tell me.
Well, before I get to my next piece of pie here, I mean, it's what the Vikings are doing with their offensive line, the backups there. It's kind of a lottery, right? And that's where we talk about the Minnesota State Lottery, a new partner here of us on Purple Daily. It's game time with the new Vikings scratch games from Minnesota Lottery here. Play, and you could win up to $100,000 with their new $5 game and score great second chance prizes like Vikings tickets and merchandise. There's also a $2 Skull game with a top prize of $15,000. If you're a big fan and ready for some big fun, then get pumped and say, I'm in to Vikings scratch games from the Minnesota Lottery. You must be 18 or older to play. So there's a consolation prize. If you get
Welcome aboard.
If you get cut from the Vikings because you're not good enough, you could always win $100,000 playing the Vikings scratch games. It'd be great. All right, here's my next piece of pie.
The Rock knows how you feel about pie.
Okay. 10% to Mike Zimmer himself making everybody else anxious. Okay? I think instead of being sort of the calm centerpiece of all right, some things are going off the rails, I'm going to be the steady force, the hand that guides this ship. I'm going to be, Phil Jackson sitting on the bench, allowing my team to work through because I have confidence in them. Mike Zimmer's the guy that comes in and he's like, oh my God, did you see how bad the punter was? Oh my God! Like he
That's
makes,
why we're buddies.
He makes everybody else.
That's why
anxious.
we bond, because we both like to sound that alarm as quickly as possible.
Like he doesn't make it better, right? He doesn't okay, so there's a setback with Christian Darrisaw. Thought they had the injury fixed back in January. Turns out it's still lingering. And instead of him coming in and saying, you know what, we think Christian's a really talented player. We're going to give him some time to work through this. A little bit of a setback, but we really like the guy that he could be. Mike Zimmer comes out and he's like, I don't know. I was told this was fixed in January. This was not something we expected.
Yes,
I don't know what we're going to do at this point. Oh, my God. Jumps off a cliff.
Rashad Hill has to start. I will grab hands with Mike and go right off that cliff, too.
But he's ripping the punter. He's ripping all of his backups.
Stunk.
He's withholding information and being cryptic about Kellen Mond's lack of pass attempts in the third and fourth quarter. He makes it worse by escalating and pouring gas on this stuff. So he gets 10%.
Here's my guess. My guess is at the end of last season, he told them we need a new punter. And they got Colquitt to take a pay cut and said, no, we're bringing him back with a pay cut, Mike. And Mike's like, are you sure? They're like, yeah, it's going to work out great. And Colquitt has a bad game, first game, and he's like, see, I told you guys. And yes, he then makes it worse. Because then he's like, you see, should have listened to me.
Yeah. I think you're probably right. Mike Zimmer is very transparent in the way. And also,
That's what I like about covering him.
He, the things he said about Jake Browning last week, just what a great leader he is. He's a quote, get it done guy in the fourth quarter, these 2-minute drills. He's Jake Browning, who's never played a regular season snap in the NFL, is a get it done guy, but he's in practice. That is an indirect, if not slightly direct shot at Kirk, right? Zimmer can't help himself. Zimmer has never said anything like that about Kirk. Has he ever called Kirk a great leader or a get-it-done guy? He never talks about Kirk. Certainly not in that way.
The last time that Mike gave a quote about a quarterback that was that complimentary was almost certainly Teddy.
Teddy, yeah.
So just think about that. Do you really think he likes Jake Browning as much as basically his son, Teddy?
Yeah.
It's a complete shot at Kirk.
Kirk is kind of he's kind of a nervous guy. He needs everything kind of situated and perfect. And Zimmer's coming in here just being like, God, his backup is amazing. God, the guys will die on a hill for his backup.
Yep.
Oh, man.
And for him?
He doesn't make it better.
Nah.
He doesn't do and I'm very critical of Kirk, and I've got another piece of pie here. But Zimmer doesn't make it better. Zimmer doesn't make that relationship better. He doesn't make the Darrisaw thing better. So, all right.
The Rock knows how you feel about pie.
And my last piece of pie, and a lot of listeners are going to hate this, and that's okay, because sometimes we feed you the medicine that you need as a Vikings fan with the mission statement of, we want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl. And so there are things that there are paths you need to go down to win a Super Bowl. And so my last piece of pie is 10% of the angst can be tied directly to Rick Spielman deciding to pay a good quarterback great quarterback money. This is how you wind up with major depth issues. I mean, we're sitting here. I mean, now I will say they did a great job of filling holes. They didn't fill all the holes. They filled some holes, mostly on defense. But we're sitting here a month before the regular season, and the Vikings' plan offensively with the offensive line is praying for either Oli Udoh and or two rookies to fix it all, or Rashad Hill.
Yes.
Like Rashad Hill, Oli Udoh, and two rookies if the fixes don't come from that collection of 4 players, this offensive line is going to be worse than it was last year. And so, like, it's a gamble. It's a gamble, and Kirk, as solid as he can be sometimes, he's not good enough to overcome deficiencies like that. And you wind up with those deficiencies, even though a lot of you think the cap is fake and it's a myth. Like, it's not. It's not. This is how you wind up with praying that a 3rd-round pick, Wyatt Davis, can just be amazing all offseason and be your starting right guard. What if he's not? Well, Ole Udoh will step in. He's played 30 snaps in the NFL.
Well,
I'm rooting for him, but
and he's never played guard before. And by the way,
I'm rooting for his success, but
why didn't he play? Like, why was a guy who has, as far as I know, in this league, never played a snap at guard, just converted from tackle? Why was he treated like the rest of the starters? I'd want that guy to get as much work as possible. And if he gets hurt, he gets hurt.
I think
it's not Dalvin where you're like, oh my God, why'd you play him?
Yeah, you and I kind of talked about this in the Sunday morning recap episode, but I think, clearly they've had this discussion. I'm sure they sat there, the offensive line coaches, and I'm sure, and Clint Kubiak and Zimmer, maybe Zimmer. It was an offensive meeting, so Zimmer might have just gotten the recap later. But like, they're probably just saying, is it more valuable?
I'm going to BK, guys. I'll see you later. Give me a recap of that offensive meeting.
But Zimmer's probably sitting there thinking, or the offensive coaches are sitting there, all right, is it more valuable for Udoh to play, I don't know, like 100 preseason snaps and get some more experience, or is it just more valuable for him to be healthy with no, like, a 0% chance of him, getting rolled up on or something? It kind of shows you how much they think of him compared to Dozier and Wyatt Davis now. So maybe it's a good sign. Maybe, like, the fact that they're sitting him out means they've seen so much in practice.
Which is why I don't trust them. They're not good enough at developing talent on the line for me to be like, you're probably right. That's my problem with them. Don't trust them.
And that is another thing. It's like,
can't trust them.
They decided the area that they've had the most problems developing guys. They developed Brian O'Neill, and that's great. But the area they've had the most problems developing guys, they're literally relying on developing guys to fix the problem instead of the opposite, which is maybe they could have devoted draft capital to defense and signed established players along the offensive line, carve out some more room for Joe Thuney, who might have signed with Kansas City anyways. But I'm just saying, like, this is the spot that they're in because they've got the 3rd highest cap hit at that position. This is what happens.
Before Dex goes, can you guys imagine the conversation that took place at some point before that game last week with the coaching staff and probably Rick Spielman? And they actually sat down and said, okay, Udoh's not playing. We're set there. We're very confident. And somebody probably said, yeah, okay, Wyatt Davis is going to start and play a ton. Great idea. Who said, oh, no, au contraire. Au contraire. Dakota Dozier is going to start, and we need to see him at right guard. As if being horse bleep at left guard. Oh, but look at right guard. He's great. And you know what that caused me to do Saturday night, Friday night as well, and then yesterday? It caused me to break into my Surly. It caused me to break into my Surly Brewing. And I'm going to tell you right now, Furious on tap, but I also went Coffee Bender, and then last night for just a little bit less, but an ode to what the purple did, I went Surly Hell, because watching Dakota Dozier made me feel like I was in hell, and Surly Hell, it's a good beer.
Hey, real quick before you give us the tagline on this discussion, between like noon on Friday and when you went to bed last night, how many Surlys would you say you had over the weekend?
A bunch on Friday, 6. 3-day period, probably 9 or 10. But the hell is lighter.
Yeah, baby.
The hell is lighter. Who got a point?
Write that down. Yours,
Phil
truly,
Mackey.
right
Oh, okay. Yeah,
it was borderline because I think I
store.
said at least 9. I think I said at least 9.
It,
So
it was 9 or 10 for sure, because I stopped for Furious on Friday night at the liquor store, and then I got Furious and Hell. And then I drank a bunch of the Furious on Friday. I think I had a couple more on Saturday night.
Nice.
And then Hell's really good.
Hell's good. It's light.
And it's lighter.
Yep.
But I mean, again, it does basically tell the story of what I saw on Saturday.
I had a great Supreme on Target Field yesterday. It was delicious.
It's good stuff. Good stuff. So anyway, Surly Furious is Minnesota's favorite IPA. Furious is the beer that helped put Minnesota craft beer scene on the map. You do enough settling in life. Crack open a Surly Furious and enjoy the IPA that revolutionized Minnesota craft beer. Don't settle do what I do, get surly.
The Rock knows how you feel about pie.
All right,
Yes.
Declan, your pie charts of blame. Just to recap mine there, 60% of it, 31 players sitting out. Let's all calm down. Vikings have good starters. 20% Rick Spielman's weird obsession with Dakota Dozier. 10% Mike Zimmer making everyone else feel anxious. And 10% paying a good quarterback great money leads to lack of depth. Declan?
All right, my pie chart, I had the same amount of pie that Judd had. I have a 60-30-10 split. So actually, I'll go to the top and then work my way to the bottom. 60% of this pie goes to assumptions. Goes to assumptions of preseason football and just getting way too hyped up. So obviously the offensive line, they had mostly their backups there, but we also had assumptions that Christian Darrisaw and Wyatt Davis were going to step in, the line will be fine, everything will be good. Well, that's probably not going to be the case. You draft a lot of rookies, and rookies show up in training camp, and they look great in practice. Kanenu Nwangu looked good, and then he got hurt. Amir Smith-Marset dropped a pass in the first series. Just assumptions that you think everything is going to go well, and you get excited for this preseason hype, and then you fall on your face with backups. And again, yeah, it's a meaningless game. I get that, but still, I think we get trapped in assumptions, especially with football, because there's such that long off period where it's the draft and the offseason and minicamp and training camp. So then once you finally see a game for the first time in basically almost 9 months, you're ready for it to be fixed, and hey, it's preseason. Everyone calm down, but there are assumptions that go to that, so 60% of my pie to that.
So basically,
30,
it's our fault, basically, for... Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, fans' fault, our fault, fans' fault, people's fault, assumptions on that preseason loss. Just 60%. The biggest chunk of the pie goes there, in my opinion.
Yeah, because we're always projecting, with all these guys, what's the best case scenario for all of these draft picks? But that's not realistic, you know? Like, you can't just say, oh, all right, so they drafted an offensive lineman here and another one there and a really fast running back there, and therefore all these problems have been solved. Well, one guy's going to be a bust. One guy might get hurt. One guy might pan out. That's how the draft works. So, yeah, that's assuming best case scenario is sometimes our flaw.
And then looking back on forward thinking, not just at that preseason game, but just 30% of my pie going to the neglection of the offensive line. And a little bit, again, maybe you can dabble some assumptions in here, but you drafted Darrisaw and Wyatt Davis thinking that was going to be the case. It's not. Now you have Dakota Dozier one play away. The rookie Wyatt Davis, who you thought was going to be the starting guard, looks like he's third on the depth chart. The neglection of the offensive line and not going out and figuring out a way to get Joe Thuney and just saying, hey, we have Brian O'Neill and we have Garrett Bradbury. Everything will be fine. We'll fix this line. We'll get Christian Darrisaw. And now all of a sudden, you could make a serious case the offensive line actually is worse on paper than it was in 2020.
I will say, like, if Darrisaw, and these are some big ifs, like if he can recover quickly here in the next few weeks, I don't think there's any way he plays in week 1 because he's going to miss all this practice. But if he can get back in the mix to start like week 4, week 5, week 3, 4, 5, Wyatt Davis is interesting in that he played well against backups after the first disaster series, but they also have looked at him all off season and have said, yeah, you're going to run with the 2s and the 3s. They haven't seen enough of him all off season to say you're competing for a starting right guard spot. And it's not like he's competing against Steve Hutchinson in his prime here, okay? Like in a battle against Oli Udoh and Dakota Dozier, they've put Wyatt Davis pretty far down. So,
but starting today in practice, he needs to, this is not an option, be second team. The thing with the Vikings is I don't trust them. I don't know that they know offensive line-wise at times what they're looking at. Not across the board, but I mean, interior, there's a case. Why was Ezra Cleveland on the bench so long last year? Drew Samia was terrible. So today, this is why I think the experience that they got in that first preseason game is valuable, because today you can say, Wyatt Davis, you're not starting, but you're second team, and Dakota Dozier, you're probably gone. This is why I like the idea of taking so many guys who have jobs essentially locked up and saying, don't worry about playing. We're going to find out about the rest of these guys. Wyatt Davis now deserves to be very clearly second team. Mm-hmm. So just do it.
And then my final chunk of pie, just 10% to the backup quarterback option. I know Kellen Mond was always going to be a project. I think maybe when the moment he got drafted, I think it was maybe we had a little assumption that he's going to be backup. Kirk could be the primary backup. But then we kind of did more scouting, and people came out and said, hey, this is actually going to take a while. He's got a hitch in his throw. Yeah, he was prolific at Texas A&M, but it's going to be a long-term play here. So instead of going out and trying to find maybe a veteran backup that I know Judd has been harping on for the majority of the season, you're now going to roll with Jake Browning. And that is a dangerous place to be because I do think you need an actual viable backup quarterback option behind Kirk if he's one play away with this offensive line of having Jake Browning start. Or same thing with the COVID protocols. Your neglection of the backup option to Kirk is definitely going to be rippable. So 10% of my pie to that. So as a whole, 60% to assumptions, 30% to the offensive line, 10% to the backup quarterback dilemma.
And Mond, and I do not say this as a panic move, and I am not criticizing the Vikings one bit. Kellen Mond, in my opinion, should not and cannot play this year. It should be a learning year. It should be a year to get practice reps. It should be a year to be around the pro game. But there was nothing I saw in that preseason game that tells me he's prepared to play yet. Because I'll come back to this. As a third-round pick, if you force him in, if you have to, if you're like, Jake Browning stinks, so we're just going to play Mond, you run a big risk of ruining Mond. And there is no reason, there's no excuse to do that. Give him the chance to learn. These exhibition games are great. That's fine. But if you have to plug this guy in, I don't know, week 5 or something like that, I can tell you right now, it's going to be a disaster. He's not prepared yet. They know that. They've seen it. So Dex is right. Go out and find somebody that can run the game, worst case.
Yep, the other thing, too, Mike Zimmer talked after the game, too, just about Mond he's too quiet right now. I mean, he's a rookie. So, like, the expectations on him are...
Did you see Mond's response?
No.
He's like, I don't think I'm that quiet. Mond's what's he talking about?
We're not in the huddle, I guess. It's hard to know for sure.
That's what Mond said, though. He's like, I thought I was fine.
Do you think Mike Zimmer is hanging around the backup quarterbacks enough to have any idea really who's vocal and who's not? That's my question.
I think Mike knows that if Kellen Mond develops into a successful starter, he won't be here to see it. So I don't think
which is too bad because why would he not? And this is a rhetorical question, but why would he not want to take a personal interest in developing Mond for life after Kirk? Like Zimmer is 100% tied to this season right now.
Correct.
If he were to with his bosses become more open with like, all right, I may not be Andy Reid quarterback guru here, but I've studied enough of how to beat quarterbacks. Like I can give him some insight, and I can talk to him about leadership. Like Mike Zimmer knows what he wants in a leader on defense. He knows how to stop quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Can't some of that translate to him putting an arm around Kellen Mond and diving into some teaching questions or teaching conversations?
I know what you're saying, but it doesn't seem to.
Yeah.
It seems like it's I don't like QBs. I'm trying to stop them. That's my life's work. And if Kirk bleeping Cousins does not win, my life's work is going to have to go elsewhere, and I'm probably going to be a DC again in 2022.
Yeah.
That's how it comes off to me.
And I didn't think Mond looked lost or anything. I think the game looked like it was pretty fast for him, and it looked like he was moving off reads pretty quick to run the ball.
Yes.
And he looks as advertised, a little rigid. He just looks a little stiff, and there were some good moments. He ran for a couple first downs, and again, it wasn't a disaster. But I didn't watch that game and think, "Oh my God, he's ready to rock right now."
No.
Like first line of defense as the backup quarterback. So there we go.
Rock knows how you feel about pie.
Those are our pie charts of blame for sort of the big picture of how everyone feels a little angsty, led by Mike Zimmer. After
He's no
the first
Justin
preseason
Fields,
game.
boys. He's no
He
Justin
looks
Fields.
good, apparently.
This is going to
Bears.
haunt the Vikings unless he's a bust, which I don't think he's going to be. This is going to haunt them every day until it's done, and that's a long time from now.
Again, I think Justin Fields. If I had to like bet my life, like I think he's going to pan out. It's the Chicago Bears. They always find a way to screw up quarterbacks, and let's not over. People are sending around that clip of like, look at this touchdown. Okay, literally anyone could have thrown that touchdown pass he threw in that game on Saturday or whatever day it was. Like there was nobody within 30 yards of that receiver.
I'm just saying it has the potential to haunt them a lot.
Yeah.
Because everybody knows that they tried to trade up, and the one team or the teams that you don't want to jump you and get the QB that you like are your division opponents.
Yeah. We're going to get to what's stuck in Judd's craw here. Surly, you must be furious in a second, but a quick word. So I got to tell you guys, it was like 90 degrees out in the Rocky Mountains for this vacation, and we went on a couple like 4 or 5 mile hikes with like 2,000 feet elevation. Like we were getting after it. It was super fun, right? And so the morning before our first hike, I was looking down in my bag and my luggage. I said I had one pair of sort of athletic boxer briefs, and then I had a pair of chill boys. Chill Boys, like the sort of the form-fitting Chill Boys here, right?
Oh, the form-fitting ones. Declan loves those.
And I have not dabbled like through like exercise and hiking. Oh my God.
Yep.
Best decision of my life. The rest of me was kind of hot at times. You know, I had to put some sunscreen on the bald head.
Sure.
Woo! The main regions, though, we're feeling great thanks to a Minnesota-based company, Chill Boys and chillboys.com. One word from each of you to describe how Chill Boys have made you feel over the weekend.
Oh, cool. Just cool. That's my word. Comfortable and cool.
Collected. I'll piggyback off Judd.
Collected's
Collected.
good.
It was nice and collected.
It was calm for me.
Yeah.
Cool,
Yeah.
calm.
You know what?
Collected.
But Phil, you're right. The best part is when you are in an environment where ordinarily it might get a little bit uncomfortable, bunched up, and hot, and Chill Boys it never does.
It's amazing. Yeah, Chill Boys, passionate about one thing, your comfort. Get yours at chillboys.com. Also, this weekend, Brainerd International Raceway, just an absolute blast, by the way. Brainerd International Raceway is holding the NHRA Lucas Oil Nationals. Every ticket comes with a pit pass, so fans can meet with racers, watch them at nearly 330 miles an hour. Think about that. And you can get on-the-spot autographs. It's a blast for families and kids. Find out more information about tickets and camping packages to watch the NHRA Lucas Oil Nationals at Brainerd International Raceway, BIRMN.com, BIRMN.com.
A lot of speed.
So much
Lots
speed.
of speed.
All right, Surly, you must be furious about something. Every single week, this is our chance to give Judd Zulgad a chance to rant and rave about something that is stuck in his craw, Vikings or NFL related. So, Surly, you must be furious, Judd Zulgad.
All right, I'm going to go back to the Vikings, and I'm going to go back to the offensive line, and I'm going to give one final, and hopefully this is it, because hopefully he's just cut, and he might be a great guy. Like Phil said, he might be the greatest guy on the face of the earth. I don't know, and perhaps he can find a life's assignment that will fulfill him. But Surly, I must be furious, and in fact, I'm often driven to drink Surly Furiouses because of what's going on at right guard with the Vikings. Drew Samia might be fine. We don't know yet, but they're going to take another chance. They're going to take, or I'm sorry, Oli Udo, because Drew Samia was bad. But Dakota Dozier is an absolute train wreck there. And whomever on the Vikings feels that they need to continue to see Dakota Dozier playing week after week, month after month. Oh, he's a free agent. Should we sign him? No. Yeah, let's sign him to a new contract. Let's bring him back. It's a great idea. He's great in what? The locker room? What are you people thinking and doing? And here's the thing that I don't get. You used a third-round pick, which is a high draft pick, on Wyatt Davis, and you are standing in the way of his progress because somebody at TCO Performance Center continues to say, but what about Dakota? We got to play Dakota. No, you don't. Send him to Dakota, North Dakota, South Dakota. I don't care where he goes.
Vikings, North Dakota is now a sponsor of Vikings press conferences.
I saw that. I saw that. Yes, and that's
They're
great.
not our
That's
friends.
That's no, you know what? That's fantastic. In fact, maybe keep Dakota Dozier on the payroll, put him in a suit and tie, and have him be your liaison in North Dakota. How about that? Going through at watch parties or something. Just get him off the field. Give Wyatt Davis a chance. If you need to play Oli, that's fine too. But I'm always looking for a reason, okay, to drink Surly, and in particular, Surly Furious, as you guys know. But I would prefer it not be from the angst of having to watch Dakota Dozier ever again play guard, left or right, for the Vikings.
Okay, so just to put a bow on this.
And now I'm done, but I mean, I
Judd,
can't
stop.
not do this.
Just to put a bow on this.
Yeah.
All right. So there were 312 qualified offensive linemen that played at least 20% of the snaps in the first preseason week, okay?
Yep.
312. Dakota Dozier ranked 312th.
Yeah.
Dead last grade out of all offensive linemen that played in the first preseason week. Think about that. Like, dude is the worst offensive lineman in the NFL, and they continue to run him out there for what reason? Also, Jake Browning is trying to win a backup spot, right? He's playing with backups. Like Dozier is shipwrecking his chances to perform at a high level.
Yeah, I heard it.
As a backup. So it's amazing, man. I was kind of surprised when I saw this. There's a couple other Vikings on this list, and Drew Samia is also. Drew Samia was like, I think he's like 300th or something.
Go.
I saw him on here. Yeah, 241. Drew Samia. So, whew.
That's fun.
All we are saying is give Ole a chance.
Surly Judd must be furious. That's Judd's Monday rant here. So all we want is a Vikings championship before we all die here, and that's why we're a little cantankerous on this Monday. But that's a wrap on Purple Daily, presented by Surly Brewing Company. We'll see you guys tomorrow.